For more on the Yahoo story, we're joined by analyst Ben Schachter of Macquarie Capital. Ben, thanks for your time. And if it is true that Yahoo's out of the Hulu bidding process, then what's your reaction?
You know, I think that they have a lot of opportunities out there. There's obviously a lot of things going on in the company. We would have liked to see them bidding because we think it could be a potentially interesting asset for them. But it's really unclear yet that they are finally actually out of the bidding or not.
Okay, but if they are out, then there's probably a couple of reasons. We talked about price tag. Obviously, they've got their own headaches that they're dealing with. What would be the number one reason in your mind why Yahoo would not continue?
I think the number one reason right now is just that the fact that they don't know exactly where they're going. They don't know who they are. So it's difficult to make a large strategic acquisition like this if you don't know where you're really trying to get to with that acquisition.
Ben, we talk a lot about all the people who might be companies that might be interested in buying Hulu, but not always the reasons why. Yeah. So for a Yahoo or any of the other bidders, what is the ultimate value in acquiring Hulu?
I think for Yahoo, there are a number of different reasons that you'd want to acquire it. Number one, you have 600 million plus users coming to the site. They're trying to figure out how to best monetize those users. Can you offer them new services, new content, such as video, and such of all the offerings that a Hulu would have? So there are some really interesting things they can do with it. The problem for Yahoo has been they've bought many interesting things in the past, and then through misexecution or other problems, have not been able to capitalize on it.
You know, the media and technology companies don't always get along. We've heard that, for example, in Google involved in this process, that some of the media companies are still frustrated by some of the money they've made through piracy, all indirectly through piracy, and that affects whether or not they want to sell to Google. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's really the issue. I think the issue is, can they work with Google? Can they work with the Yahoo? Can they work with these companies and figure out a way so that all the players can make money going forward? Piracy, you know, it's one of those things that it happens on the internet, but most companies really now are looking beyond that and trying to figure out what's the best way to monetize the content that they currently have.
You know, I mentioned Carol Bartz, the former CEO of Yahoo. What's your take on what her role may have been in the Hulu negotiating process while she was on vacation during the summer?
Well, you know, I think Carol has been beaten up pretty badly in the media. Certainly there were mistakes made, but, you know, we don't know exactly what happened with any kind of negotiations around Hulu. So I wouldn't want to, you know, try to guess at what was happening there. But clearly Yahoo was in the bidding. It's unclear now if they still are, but, you know, we would have liked to have seen them out there bidding for this asset.
You know, if Yahoo is out of this race, what does that say about their thinking maybe right now for a new CEO? I mean, who do you think would be the right CEO for Yahoo?
I think there are a lot of potential players out there. But again, I think the board, Jerry and David, all the folks at the company, they have to figure out where they're trying to go to with this. It's hard to say who would be the best person to get them somewhere when you're not really sure where they want to take it. What kind of company does Yahoo want to be in the future?
Well, you mentioned you would have liked to have seen them stay in this Hulu process. So what else would you like to see from the new Yahoo?
You know, the reality is we need to see this company slim down. They just have a cost base right now that doesn't really support what they're trying to do in terms of having all these different categories and all these different offerings for people. It's sort of, you know, they are spread too thin. So we think they really need to focus on trying to figure out an overall strategy and then fit the company to figure out how they can best get to that strategy. But one thing I would add is that clearly what's happening now is that mobile is becoming more and more important for all internet companies. And so Yahoo really needs to figure out where they're going to be as we begin to access the internet more and more through mobile devices, smartphones and tablets.
Let's go back to Hulu for 1 second. I mentioned that some of the owners of Hulu might not actually want to sell, especially if the price isn't right. Do you ultimately think that Hulu will be sold?
You know, again, I hate to say it, but I do think it's somewhat unclear right now. The issue is not just price. Our understanding is that a lot of the issue is around what are the actual terms of a deal? How long will they get content for? What types of content will they get? And I think all the companies are basically obviously trying to get the best deal that they can for themselves. And right now, the owners of Hulu are trying to figure out, well, does it even make sense based on some of the terms that Google and Amazon and others may be asking for?
And there is the risk that Hulu could lose steam over the next couple of years based on what other technology companies do, right?
Well, I mean, look at what just happened to Netflix. I mean, not that long ago, that was a company that could do no wrong. All of a sudden, people are trying to figure out who are they? Are they viable for the long term? So when you look at Hulu, has done a lot of things correctly and has actually worked really well. You know, these things can turn very quickly. So Hulu and Hulu's owners have to figure out, is this something that we want to bet on, that we want to execute on, or would we rather sell it off and let someone else take the risk?
A real quick final question. Is there anything else you'd like to see Hulu buy? Yahoo buy?
You know, we don't want to see Yahoo buying things right now. We'd like to see Yahoo slimming down a bit, figuring out who they are first, having an overarching vision for where they want this company to go, particularly addressing the issue of mobile access, then they can figure out, well, what are the opportunities and what things should we be buying.
And the number one thing to slim down, get rid of, would be?
I think there's just too many people at the company right now. It's unclear what they all do. There's so many things that Google's trying to be all things to all people, and that just doesn't work. That portal model is not really applicable in the internet these days.
All right, Ben, thanks for your perspective. As always, it's Ben Schachter of Macquarie Capital. We're not